All right, hello everyone. Good to see you. Paul Tranny here. I'm going to dive into tips and tricks when it comes to compositing in Photoshop. So feel free to say hello, just so I'm not talking to myself. I'm actually okay talking to myself, but it's much better talking to people. So feel free to say hi. I'm going to dive into this. Tips and tricks, probably the biggest tips that I've kind of learned over the years. And you can see some of my artwork in the background. All right. So let me just click into this real fast to make sure everybody can see me. There we go. Froja. Awesome. Thank you. So I'm not talking to myself. Thank you so much for joining me. Jim, hello. Jersey's in the house. Good to hear. All right. So let's jump over to what I am working on and kind of like what I'd like to show and some of the issues that it has. All right. Clicking over. Here we are. Hello, Michelle's in the house. Gaynor as well. John, awesome. Hello, Bernard, Klaus, Zagreb, Croatia. I've been to the airport there. Excuse me. Alan, good to see you there. Raul, so this is kind of the piece that I'm working on. Throwing a lot at it, by the way. You can see all these layers off to the side, things that I'm kind of turning on and off, right? Just a number of things. We have this sort of background, right? That's really just black and white, right? It's actually, should have some color with it, but not much actually. Come to notice that it doesn't have a lot going on with it. But you can see the clash that we're having, right? Because we have, this is the biggest situation. Let's zoom in on this. Like the darks don't match, right? So look, the blacks all need to match. So a big tip for you is you can always add like a check layer. And so what that means is just jumping in and adding an adjustment layer that's just a black and white layer. Boom. Get rid of the color, right? And by getting rid of the color, that's going to help you kind of to focus on the darks and the lights, okay? So that's typically what I like to do. Another black and white layer you can add. You could always use hue and saturation and then take the saturation all the way down as well. But you can see right in here, it's like, well, this black, even if I sample right here, if I could, sample all layers, right? So we could just kind of jump in and see that these darks are not the same as these darks. And they're shifting a little bit. But especially with this black sky, guess what? That's more like a gray sky. So we need to make sure that the darks and lights match the, first off, right? And that's what I do right here. It's like I would go ahead and take that background. You know, if I even want to use this background, right? Oh, actually, that's the night sky. How interesting. Oh, okay. So this is, there we go. So there we go. This is the layer back there. Like I said, it's not black. It's actually looks like a blue. So again, you can do Command L or Control L if you're on a PC, and you can see we can drag that, make that darker, and make that match up a little bit better. And we're basically pushing the grays to be black so it matches, right? So that's all I'm doing. All right, so do that. Another thing right in here, it looks like I have a splash of color on the ground, right? Because I was like, oh, let's give it a splash of color. Now, the reason I started doing that is because his, this suit actually has a splash of blue. So again, we could always sample, jump in here, click. Sure enough, it gives me this sample of blue. So it's like there's this blue cast on him, but not on the ground. And I could always use the color picker to see, okay, there's blues in here. It gets into the purples, right? I'm just kind of clicking around really fast, mostly blues. So what I can do for the ground, like I actually did earlier, we could add a new layer. We could sample. We can actually have that be even more blue, by the way. Hit B for brush. Change that to soft round. Oh no, sorry about that. Let's do the brush tool, soft round. Take the flow down. You could do this any way you want, right? I'm increasing the brush size. Zoop, right? And we can just kind of paint with that same color blue and adjust the opacity as well, okay? We know things aren't like typically all one color, by the way. So for this, I would even add a little bit of like purple in here. So jumping in here, adding a little bit of purple, rather than just kind of giving it one color, I usually throw a couple colors in there, just it kind of gives it more depth. So Jason, what's up, man? Good to see ya. Muriel as well, Bavin as well, cool. Thanks so much for joining me today. So again, we're just matching the colors. We're making sure that we're doing compositing. If we want it to live in the same environment, we have to play with the shadow and add shadow in this case. Luckily, I already did that right here. Boom. Again, B for brush. You can pick black. Sometimes it's always not black. But again, just kind of add some shadow right down there so he looks like he's grounded and sitting in this space. Cool. Let me know if you guys have questions, right? But this is working out okay so far. I'm not crazy about this moon. What the heck? Like, isn't he on the moon? Like, what's that moon doing back there? Right? I probably want to get rid of it and add some more fun star fields or constellations or planets or something in the background. So luckily I have that right over here. Let's jump in here. Let's find something cool, shall we? Ooh, look at this gorgeous one. Look at this. Look at these gorgeous skies. Look at that. Gorgeous stuff. These have the tones that I like. I love purples and blues and combining those. All of these look really good. So we just take those and drop those in and maybe use those. And look at how it just like changes all the colors right in here. This is going to be amazing. But hopefully this day finds you well, everybody. Just wishing you a happy, safe, wonderful Wednesday. Can you believe it's already Wednesday? Right there, that is. We're getting some different lighting in here for each background. If I decide to go with this lighting, well, you know what? I'd have to start airbrushing onto his suit this orange color, which is such, you know, still really cool. And I would airbrush it on the base here. But I also very much like this sky right here. This is super cool, right? And I think I'm actually going to go with this sky, if you guys don't mind. Make that a little bit bigger. Like so. Command L just to adjust the levels in here. And go something like that. There we go. Cool. All right, it's looking good so far. We amped up all this color right in there. Command U. We could take down the saturation of the background a touch if we want to. And make sure the ground matches accordingly. So that's what I'm doing now. Let's just increase the saturation of what I painted earlier, right? And again, we're just making this match. So pretty. Sammy from Finland is here. Gerard from Miami. Awesome. Glad everybody's here. This is looking pretty good. Okay, so I need to write down kind of the tips and tricks and everything you need to know. You need to match, sorry about that, match the blacks, whites, right? So I didn't type this up before, but here you go. Match the blacks, the darks and lights, basically. So the dark colors, the light colors, right? We need to match the clarity. Clarity or grain. Because sometimes some photos will have more or less grain, and you have to match that. These are pretty good, but that's what I'm actually going to do next. And then we need to tie it together with lighting, basically, is a tip and trick. But let's go ahead and jump in here and do that right now. So right down here, this spacesuit has so much detail, but we notice the ground doesn't have that same level of detail. So that's where I'd need to go into the ground right here and add some sharpness. So filter, sharpen. I typically use unsharp mask, okay? Unsharp mask will not typically make everything uniformly sharp. Look at how much I need to actually crank it up to really get the detail and grain that I want. But there, preview. I'm just cranking this up a lot. Hello, there we go. There we go. So again, this is kind of just adding a lot of grain, honestly, to this and clicking OK. Okay, so we can try to sharpen the background, sharpen this guy's suit, do a number of things like that. Another trick you can do is you can add a separate layer with grain on it, right? So there's ways to kind of hide any issues that your scene might have. Okay, so let me just do this really fast. Fill it with foreground. I'm noticing the background's a little intense. So I'm just taking down the opacity of the background because it's almost sort of overcoming the guy in his suit. All right. But what you could do is you could always add a layer. Check this out. Let's come down here. Option, click on the new layer icon. We'll bring up these options. We can go to, say, screen, fill screen with neutral color. Actually, what I want to do is I want to do soft light, fill with a 50% gray. We do something like that. Anyway, so all I did is make a gray layer, right? And it was set to soft light, okay? But you could basically have a layer on top of everything else. And let me just change this to normal. And here we can go ahead and add some pixelation. So let's say we will go to... Oh, here we go. Let's add some noise. Let's add some noise to this, shall we? So add all this noise. And what this is going to do is going to add noise to the whole overall picture. So now I can change this back to, say, soft light. And that gives everything a grain. But what this layer does is this hides any, grain issues. So it's kind of just like a hack. But again, these are tips and tricks, right? So that's what I would do. That might be more of a final step, but it kind of makes sure everything has a grain, right? 1,000 layers, that's right. Thousands and thousands of layers. There's all sorts of things going on here, just so you know. So again, that helps out, right? And it's cool because I actually have more flowers in here. Let's take a look. There we go. Turn that on. Oh, look. So now I can kind of play around, and since that grain is added to everything, it's added to those flowers right there. Okay? Cool. Just hides stuff. So we're matching the darks. We're matching the lights. Let me show you one more thing if you don't mind, and then I'm going to talk about sort of overall color adjustments that you can do. Let me jump out here, and I'm sorry, this might take a second. Let's go to this one. Let's see if I can, maybe it's this one. So other composites. Here's this lion with wings, apparently. Okay, you get the idea. I really want to roll this lion back to the way it was, like initially. Or even a horse. Or a jackrabbit. Yeah, let's do this jackrabbit really fast. You ready for this? We want this jackrabbit to be part of this scene. Selecting that layer, going to Properties, Remove Background, right? Boom. There he is. Place him right here, right? You can see he doesn't match the tones or anything, right? And I got to clean it up some more. I get it. But check this out. We can add a curves layer. Here's my curves adjustment layer, right? We're going to clip it just to the jackrabbit. We're going to select those curves like so. Now we can play with the lights and the darks by adjusting this, right? We're like, let's not make it a guessing game, right? Don't worry about doing any of this, right? Just reset it. Choop. And you can go right up here. Go to the auto options for the curves. Right in here, just so you know. Are you ready for this, Michelle and Laurent? From Paris. Good to have you here. Awesome. And we could say, hey, you know what? Find the dark and light colors. So I was actually manually doing this. Here I can jump in, and I get to pick the shadows right down here. Done. Boom. The midtones. Actually, let me make sure I hit OK. The midtones, right, might be over here, kind of that gray, right? And we can manipulate this all we want. And then we could do the highlights. Remember the highlights right down here. The highlights are actually obviously just a light yellowish gold. So click right there, and now we've established the highlight color as well. So those three things we're sort of adding shadows, midtones, and highlights. Click OK, select no, and it does all those adjustments for me, right? And from there, I can still add more to it. So I can throw another levels on there if I want to. But you guys get the idea, okay? So anyways, part of the scene now. I think that's neat. Cool, cool, cool. Last thing I'm going to talk about, thank you so much for joining me today, this fine Wednesday, is, say for instance, this piece that I'm still working on, right? Again, it's going to be cool, hopefully, when it's done. But what I will do to hide a number of your, to really sort of tie an image together, I use color lookups. So go to color lookup. For color lookups, you have a number of these lookup tables that you can select. So you can select a two-strip look. When I do that, it gives me just teal and a pinkish salmon color, right? So it ties things together by having this lookup table over the top of everything else. So we have our before, maybe things don't match, throw that lookup table on there and it ties it all together based on the colors. So that's just an easy thing to do. Let's just kind of go through a couple more of these. If I want to make this crisp winter, so get rid of some of the cool tones, obviously that makes it real intense, but you can see what it's doing, sort of matching or blending those photos together. Cool. Foggy night. A lot of times I'll actually take this and you could adjust the blend modes or the opacity and get something kind of like that. I like the foggy night because it still makes it look like it's sort of, you know, in space, right? Jay's in the house from Canada. I love Canada. Can I just say I've just like loved Toronto and of course Montreal. Took me a second. Montreal. But there you have it. That's what I'm working on. So I'm going to spend some more time on this just so you know. And I will post it to Instagram, kind of what I end up with, right? But just give me a second. Give me some time to make something cool, if you don't mind. And I'll get right on that. Zoop, there it is. Bam. That's what I would do. I'd make a circle to kind of make it stand out. I don't know. Just kind of do something like that. It's kind of cool. Just kind of framing it up. You get the idea. Whoa. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for hanging out. This grain is really intense, so I'm definitely going to take that down. And that's what I have so far. So thanks so much for watching. I'll go through some of these blend modes. There we go. And appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'll post this to Instagram once I get it all done. Just keeping this quick, these tips quick. And yeah, Friday I'll be doing a masterclass on Adobe Live, so look for that coming up this Friday. In 2 days, we'll get into some more compositing. So thank you for Lonnie for joining me, and Jazz and Michelle and Jay and everyone. Appreciate you guys. More later, so tune in this Friday. Thanks so much for watching, and check out my stuff on Instagram when I get it done.